This presentation covers using the Element Vantiv Credit Card Processing Gateway in Epicor Eclipse Solar Interface Sales Order Entry Screen. Credit card information can be stored for reuse in several different locations, each one having a different range of use. At the customer maintenance level, in the bill to or ship to, if it's stored there, then all sales orders to a particular customer or all sales orders to a particular job can access the credit card information. If the credit card information is stored on the contact and the contact is associated with a particular job or a bill to, then it can be used from there. That's not normally how it's used though. And finally, the credit card information can be stored in a particular sales order. If it's stored at the sales order level, then the credit card can only be reused on that sales order or successive generations of that sales order. Here's a sample sales order that we're going to work with. This is going to be a common counter order with the order status changed to pick up now. In the Totals tab, you normally enter the amount due in the credit card field, or you can select Control-R or use the drop-down for Charge Credit Card. Hopefully the credit card that you're wanting to use has already been stored, and if that's the case, select it from the list and hit Enter. When the transaction completes, you'll see the totals go to 0 and the authorization code field be populated with the transaction number. And the payment information will show in the Status tab on the order status. The credit card charge transaction information will be printed on the customer's invoice. I have them sign our copy before they leave. If you need to enter a new card for a sales order entry, enter in the total in the credit card received field as you would normally. In this process, this is going to be just a one-time transaction, so we're not actually permanently storing the credit card information. And hit Enter. When you hit Enter, the Defined Payments window will pop up. If you're not using any of the existing cards or they don't exist, select New. Select Sale from Transaction, and if you have the card, select Card Present to swipe the card. When this window pops up, you're ready to go ahead and swipe the credit card through the reader device. The reader device should have a green light on it. If you do not see a green light, the cables, the power cables, are a little fidgety on the back of the things. Try wiggling the cable and you should see the green light pop up automatically. As soon as you see the green light, go ahead and swipe the credit card. Within normally about 5 to 7 seconds, you should see a successful swipe ready to process window pop up. At that point, you can go ahead and select Process the Transaction. If you're doing a manual entry because you either don't have the credit card or it refuses to read properly, the screens will just look slightly different. As before, the Element credit card window will pop up, but this time it'll be slightly different, providing fields to be able to enter in the credit card number, expiration date, and CVV number. After doing that, select Process Transaction. When the processor gateway pops up the transaction successfully processed window, you can now close that window and return to your Solar Eclipse sales order entry screen. When you return to totals, you'll see that the totals are now 0 and the authorization code is now populated in the auth code field and the transaction is complete. By default, if you try and save the credit card information, it will be tagged into the sales order and can only be used in that sales order or other generations of that sales order. And so ordinarily you will want to save it to the customer record or job instead for use in other places. After selecting New, enter in whatever information needs to be modified in the default credit card information window. Verify the authorization method is correct and select either key in or swipe as appropriate from the drop-down menu. Enter the credit card information or swipe as whatever's appropriate. Select Save Card. When the transaction successfully processed window comes up, close that and return to the Solar sales order entry. As mentioned before, in most cases you probably want to save the credit card information to the customer's bill to or their job instead of to this specific order. So in that case you'll want to go ahead and select File and Save to Customer. When you choose to save to the customer level, you'll be presented sometimes with multiple options as to what to want to tie it to. Tie it either to the customer level, the bill to be used in any job, or if this is to be used with just a specific job, select the job that's supposed to be tied to. Complete the sales order as discussed earlier. You'll see in the totals that the total is 0 and the authorization code is displayed in the field. The system allows you to void a credit card transaction, or more ordinarily you would do a return and credit situation. Voiding is only normally done if you've charged the wrong amount or the wrong card. You immediately want to just void that and rerun it with different information or different total. You could void and cancel a sales order if the product was returned for some reason on the same day, but ordinarily you don't do this. To void the transaction, go to the Totals tab and click the Change Payment button. Select from the list the transaction that you've just completed. Select Void and click Yes to go ahead and void the transaction. At this point the original charge has been voided. As you can see, the amount due comes back and the transaction number disappears. At this point you're okay to go ahead and complete the transaction with a new balance or with a new credit card number as necessary, or if you need to, you can go ahead and cancel the sales order. As mentioned before, voiding is usually only used if you're planning on going ahead and recharging with different credit card information, different balances, and continuing with the sales order. Although once you have voided a transaction, you can go ahead and safely cancel the invoice and cancel the order. The normal way of crediting a credit card is, of course, to do just a credit return sales order. Here's an example here. Normal negative quantity. As always with all returns, the original sales order has to be referenced, or the return is done on that sales order number. Here's an example of a normal return to stock with original sales order referenced. Since this is a return, of course, we're putting in a negative amount to credit back to the credit card, and hit enter. Select the original charge to edit off of the list. You can charge for up to the amount of the original charge but not past it. You can charge for less than the full amount. And here we see the credit was applied, the totals are at 0, and the authorization code field has got an entry in it. The credit card transaction information will print on the paperwork, have the customer sign our copy, and that completes the credit to the credit card. And this completes the presentation. As always, I'm not Scott Zahn. Thank you.